Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at Leonard Mlodinow's The Drunkard's Walk, and we're going to talk about a hidden force that pretty much shapes our entire world: randomness. So, let's just kick things off with a huge question. How much of your life is actually under your control? I mean, we love to think that our successes are a direct result of our talent and our hard work, right? But what if a huge piece of the puzzle is just dumb luck?
This idea really hit home for Mlodinow through his father, who learned it in the most brutal way you can imagine. He survived a concentration camp because of a series of completely random events. And this reveals a really profound truth. Our lives are constantly being shaped by things we just can't predict or control.
Now, the problem is, our brains are not built to just accept randomness. We are pattern-seeking machines, right? We're always looking for the cause and the effect. And while that's usually a strength, it becomes a massive weakness when we're faced with things that are truly random. It leads us to completely misunderstand why we succeed and why we fail.
Okay, so let's dig into this hidden force, because once you start looking for it, you see it absolutely everywhere. I mean, think about Hollywood. Studios will sink hundreds of millions of dollars into a movie they are certain is going to be a blockbuster, and then it completely flops. And on the flip side, you have a book like Harry Potter, which was rejected by 12 different publishers before someone finally decided to take a chance. The skill was always there, but success, that was anything but a sure thing. So Mlodinow says we make this fundamental mistake. We assume that these huge, extraordinary events must have equally huge, extraordinary causes. We look at a big success and we chalk it up to brilliant insight or some genius strategy. But a lot of the time, it's really just the product of random fluctuations, of being in the right place at the right time. An amazing outcome doesn't always need an amazing explanation.
And this leads us to a really big problem. In a world governed by randomness, our intuition is a terrible guide. To prove it, how about we play a little game? All right, imagine you're on a game show. You've got 3 doors in front of you. Behind one is a brand new car. Behind the other 2 are goats. You pick a door. Let's say you pick door number 1. Now the host, who knows exactly where the car is, opens door number 3 and shows you a goat. Then he turns to you and asks, do you want to stick with your first choice, door number 1, or do you want to switch to door number 2?
Now, what's fascinating here is that your gut is probably screaming, it's 50-50, it makes no difference, but your gut is completely wrong. And here's why. Your odds of winning the car actually double if you switch. Think about it. Your first pick had a 1 in 3 chance of being right. That means there was a 2 in 3 chance the car was behind one of the other 2 doors. When the host opens one of those wrong doors, he's giving you new information. That entire 2/3 probability doesn't just disappear. It funnels onto the one door you didn't pick. And this is just a brilliant illustration of how badly our intuition can fail us. I mean, when this puzzle was first published, thousands of people, including people with PhDs in mathematics, wrote these angry letters insisting the answer had to be wrong. That's how hardwired we are not to think in terms of probability.
So this faulty intuition, it doesn't just stop at game shows. It leads us straight into another really powerful illusion: the idea that a successful outcome is always the best way to measure skill. You've definitely seen this with the hot hand fallacy in sports, right? A basketball player sinks 3 or 4 shots in a row, and what do we say? Wow, she's on fire, she can't miss. We create this whole narrative that she's in the zone. But here's the thing. When statisticians actually dug into the data, they found that these so-called hot streaks were, well, they were mostly illusions. They're exactly the kind of clusters you would expect to see in any random sequence of hits and misses. If you flip a coin, it might come up heads 5 times in a row, but that doesn't mean the coin has a hot hand. It's just chance. And this is connected to another super important idea: regression toward the mean. Let's say an athlete has a record-breaking, just unbelievable season. Well, statistically, they are very likely to perform a little closer to their career average the next year. It's not because they're in a slump or lost their skill, it's just the laws of probability pulling that extreme result back toward the middle. So, if our intuition is constantly letting us down, how are we supposed to make sense of all this chaos? Well, luckily for us, some brilliant thinkers have been developing tools for centuries to help us see the world a little more clearly. And the history here is just fascinating. It really starts with gamblers like Cardano trying to figure out the odds in dice games. Then it evolves through the work of geniuses like Pascal, Fermat, and Bernoulli, who built the whole mathematical framework we use today to understand uncertainty.
And a key tool they gave us is Bernoulli's law of large numbers. Here's the idea. In the short term, with just a small sample size, randomness looks totally chaotic and unpredictable. A coin might land on heads 7 out of 10 times. But over a large number of tries, predictable, orderly patterns start to emerge. Flip that same coin 10,000 times, and the result is going to be incredibly close to 50-50.
And sometimes these tools of probability show us things that are just mind-bending, things that completely defy our intuition, like the famous birthday paradox. Get this, in a room with only 23 people, there is a 50-50 chance that 2 of them share the exact same birthday. It sounds impossible, right? But that's the power of probability.
So, okay, how do we take all of this and actually apply it to our own lives? Well, this is where Mlodinow gives us this really powerful and memorable metaphor.
He calls it the drunkard's walk. Picture a drunkard stumbling out of a bar. Every single step he takes is random. Left, right, forward, backward. You have no idea where the next step is going. But over time, through all that random stumbling, he will inevitably make progress and move away from where he started. And our careers and even our lives are often a lot like that walk.
And thinking this way is actually incredibly empowering. It frees you from obsessing over the outcome of every single project, every single interview. Instead of judging yourself by one-off results, you can focus on the process. It means you should take more chances, get more at-bats, because that just increases the odds that luck will eventually strike. And maybe most importantly, it means we should be a lot more humble when we succeed and a lot more forgiving of ourselves when we fail.
This quote just captures the idea perfectly. Since chance plays such a massive role in whether we succeed or fail, one of the most important things we can do is just increase the number of times we try. Persistence is everything because it gives randomness more opportunities to work in our favor. Now, recognizing the power of randomness doesn't mean that we're just helpless, puppets of fate. Not at all. In fact, it does the opposite. It clarifies what we should be focusing on. We can't always control the final outcome, but we can control our effort. We can control our persistence, our preparation, and how we choose to react to the random cards that life deals us. And in the end, that is where our real power lies.